Alright, hello everyone. Oh goodness, it's a little loud, sorry. Hello and welcome to my team report of the evolution of Cinderace from yours truly. I'm sorry if my voice is like this, I just barely woke up, so I really apologize in advance for that, so... Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and just start with this. So, I'm just gonna go through like the history of my Cinderace teams I've used over the 2020 format, you know, from the Rose Tower Clash all the way up to today. And that one, Rose Tower Clash is the very first one I've ever played, which is the first one around December. And this is the team I used at the time, which is Cinderace, Proton, Whimsicott, Grimmsnarl, Duraludon, and Scrafty. Now, I'm going to go over what this team did and how it thrived, any mistakes I've made, honestly, and overall weaknesses. Just bear in mind this was like early format season 1, where nothing would ever do, where regardless Cinderace didn't exist at the time, and the meta wasn't really defined. Like, I think Short Room was like the most popular form of speed control of the format. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, honestly. Also, I hope you enjoy my new layout and my new intro. I mean, the intro's gonna be like really short from now on. So, if you guys haven't checked out my media lately, I did join an esports team called Blegh Project, and this is where I got the layout. This is where I'm doing my recording from. I'm doing my recording from Streamlabs OBS. If you guys are wondering, if you want to do recordings from your laptop or computer or something like that. But anyway, enough delaying. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this history lesson for you guys. So, first thing that came to mind whenever I was using Cinderace in December 2019 was Life Orb, because its defensive traits weren't good with what the team tried to offer with this team. Alright, what Cinderace offered, where it would most likely have to be the glass cannon of the team, with moves like Tiger Ball, being a 120 base power fire move that's 90% accuracy. This is better flare bullets in my opinion, because you're not taking recoil damage. Well, apart from the Life Orb, obviously. Yeah. The same story goes towards its second move, like Jump Kick, which fighting stats are just pretty important. I didn't know how important it was like in 2019, but I knew it was needed because Cinderace needs a ton of power. There's the Pessimistic Disposal. And then I had U-turn for pivoting options, and it did have its fair share of good uses, but it really was only there for bug stab and redirection and pivoting. I honestly think any Pokemon that has access to U-turn or Volt Switch I might end up using, based on how good it could get. And then the Protect was the standard, and the standard spread at the time was max HP, max attack, max speed, Jolly, which I think before I optimized the set, I think the Cinderace did what it had to do, but the teammates really could have done better. Next up, Wash Rotom with the Citrus Berry, Levitate for the ability. I ran mine a lot differently than most Protons that have hung around in the tournament scene, VGC team design, because I ran with an odd spread, honestly, 204 HP, 52 defense, 140 special attack, 68 special defense, 44 speed with modest nature. Sorry. This was meant to be more of a defensive, bulky attacker with pivoting options with Volt Switch, annoyances with Will-O-Wisp to cripple the physical attackers, and the other two moves are standard. One complaint I will have about this Rotom is that I thought Volt Switch was good at the time. Turns out I was wrong. Volt Switch is really not that good. Not that good unless you have like a Boltund right nowadays or something. or it might not be good in general. That would be like my only complaint. Other than that, Rotom was pretty bulky. It lives what it needed to live. I'm not gonna state who because I don't think I'm gonna bother making calcs with this spread anymore. Because I don't think I'm gonna be using Rotom most of the season anymore. Anyway, next up, standard Whimsicott with. I don't remember having Safeguard on this Whimsicott. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Safeguard. It might have been Trick Room or something, you know, to counter the Trick Room. It was Sash, Tailwind, Moonbuzz, Energy Ball. I think the last one was Trick Room. I don't remember. With max speed, max special attack, modest nature because I really don't think Whimsicott needs speed, and you'll see that later on with my current build. You know, with Whimsicott being the speed demon that it already is, why would you need to be even faster than it really should be? You know, have it live some attacks that you might not expect. Like, I'm actually not going to spoil it. Next up is Grimmsnarl here with the Light Clay Prankster with Reflect, Light Screen, you know, get the immediate defense buffs before your opponent gets to attack. Thunder Wave for another form of speed control, and then its attacking move I chose Play Rough because I thought it would be the most useful among all the moves it got. Foul Play, False Surrender, Spirit Break, and Sucker Punch because I thought Play Rough was just like the most consistent based on how much Dragon Ball was good at the time. And I made this EV spread to be physically bulky, but I slapped in some special defense just so I could be honest with the Light Screen. Because this thing's supposed to be like a bulky supporter with form of speed control and a way to support his teammates through reflecting Light Screen. I wouldn't make changes to the spread, but I think it could be optimized if I'm gonna be honest. I think people figured it out. And here is a Duraludon that I thought would be good, but turned out to be worse than I thought it would be. Assault Vest Stalwart. It was meant to beat Hatterene at the time. You know, indeed Hatterene was just like one of the more popular strategies at the time because it wasn't clear on an answer to the team. Like, at all. There was no clear answer. And the moveset I had on this Assault Vest was Flash Cannon, Draco Meteor for stabs, Growth, very powerful and consistent, Thunderbolt for a third stat for a coverage move, and Snarl for control, which I only found ways to back that up because I have Assault Vest. I can just make my Duraludon even more beefier in the special defense department, but in reality, Snarl's not that great. Like, in reality, I really could have ran Body Press, Dark Pulse, and that is pretty much standard, which is just max HP, max speed, and modest, because I wanted the most damage I could get possible out of this Duraludon. Overall, I would not recommend Assault Vest to anyone. It's terrible on Duraludon. Like, why would you need the special defense unless you're not, like, committed towards offense? And the only reason I had Scrappy on this team with Intimidate were the first off, and the second would be, like, Fake Out support and a way to hit Psychics, other than Hatterene, because this thing's quad weak to freaking Dazzling Gleam. Overall, I think the Scrappy was pretty much put in here last minute, just as an Intimidator. It did work out for the times it came in, but honestly, Scrappy isn't that great. It was pretty much early format, and the only tournament I played in with this team was Rose Tower Clash 1. And I ended up going 4-3. All my losses were to Charizards, which would take account for my updated version of this team, but it wouldn't be until like 3 months later, which I would make the effort, which is like, no, the effort I made to make this team better than it should, better than it can, rephrase that, better than it can be. So the Cinderace remained the same, no changes here. The change here, I changed Rotom and Milotic, because I thought Intimidate was getting popular at the time, you know, Milotic being the competitive deck to Intimidate, was stalled, Icy Wind for speed control, and then the usual suspects will recover with Protect. Now, this was, I think, before Coil Hypnosis Milotic came to be meta-defining, so this is why the spreads like max HP, max defense, because I thought that was like the only real way you would run Milotic. I think I would change the spread later on, but it might have been just like minus 60 EVs on the Milotic and then putting the 60 towards special defense, if I remember correctly. It did work out, I just didn't like the way Milotic was just somehow doing good but bad as well, you know. The only reason I had Icy when it was the case when my opponent had no Intimidators, I could just at least gain some form of speed control and stall the standard to try to fish a burn on your opponent. Because burns are pretty much important for every format. The winds that got changed only in one aspect, so it did change its last moveset to Safeguard for several reasons. First one being Gigantamax Pikachu, which would paralyze everything if it connects a G-Max Volt Crush. With Safeguard, that doesn't happen. And also with Safeguard, you block Sleep Powder, you block Will-O-Wisp, you pretty much block every status imaginable. With a Prankster boost, that you can't get taunted by Crystal or like Timid was the cuts, you should be fine. But albeit, it's not great, but it did what it had to do. The Grim style set remained mostly the same. The Rallygon, I changed it to Choice Specs because the Berry Hitterine was getting popular, and I thought I needed a way for this Rallygon to put massive damage as possible. So Choice Specs would be my thing. The spread remained the same. The ability remained the same because of Follow Me being an annoyance. Flash Cannon, Draco Meteor, Thunderbolt, and Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is my Dark Stab, and a way to support Milotic and Whimsicott to a degree. Overall, Choice Specs did work better than Assault Vest. The complaint here is you're constantly switching out your Duraludon sometimes unless your opponent has like a move that you locked into that is like great against them, which in this case wouldn't be great. This is like February standards. It did okay, but it couldn't combat X-Patrol as hard as it really should have. And then my Charizard counter was Mudsdale. Mudsdale is supposed to be like a Pokemon that could not only thrive in Trick Room, but could also just wall Charizard hard. Because with the Assault Vest, max Quake boosts, and the screens up, Mudsdale just takes hits like a champ, and it really is hard to take down a Mudsdale with screens if you're not prepared for it. This was that standard on Mudsdale: high horsepower, rock slide, heavy slam, and body press. Body press combos with stamina so they get boosted by the defense buffs it gets. And the rest should be self-explanatory. You know, max Quake with high horsepower, making the Assault Vest plus light screen much more of a competent strategy. I often relied on it when my opponents had a lot of Pokemon that really couldn't touch Mudsdale. Slash, I mean, Rhyperior also gets somewhat walled by it. It would have to depend if I get a Flex Up or a couple Steel. Maybe a couple Steel Quick Boosts. Overall, I did not delay his team in the tournament, as I think time inconvenience was the reason I couldn't. And then Series 3 rolled around, and I thought Cinderace would get nerfed because G-Max Lapras, G-Max Hatterene, and all the Gigantamaxes that were threatening it were just too much for it. So I sort of gave up on it and switched to the Lapras team that I already posted in an earlier video. I think it was an April video, in which I got second place in the 7th Mount Silver Weekly. Well, by the way, go check that out if you haven't checked it out already. I might link it in the outro, in the new outro I have. But I would come back to Cinderace as soon as I was sort of experimenting it late May, like mid-May, you know, I had idea concept where I would. Now, bear in mind, the Libero was just like as soon as early June came in, and I had a set in mind, choice band, with an optimized spread. Now, you're probably going, Zach, why are you using choice band? You should be better off using a life orb. I am not going to get fooled. Life orb Cinderace, don't get me wrong, it's great. It's just too damn predictable. Every Cinderace I've seen is choice band. Everyone I've seen is life orb. But don't get me wrong, it's good. I just think it's predictable. I'd rather be unpredictable with my strategy than be predictable. With the Libero ability, any of your moves become stab and do a horrendous amount of damage. Especially with this spread. Now, you're probably wondering also why am I not max speed? You don't need max speed. You already outspeed like most of the Pokemon in the game. Now, this spread outspeeds Durant and Terrakion. Now, Terrakion is going to matter as soon as July hits in, which is very soon. And with high jump kick, one-shots even for Dynamax. If they're not focus touch. Because you're turning into a fighting type, your stab becomes 130 times the 1.5 attack boost from the choice band. Now, the rest of the EVs I had after checking speed tiers, is 76 of HP. I don't think this matters as much, but you can live some hits. I haven't bothered checking which hits it lives with the 76 EVs and new HP, but you also wondering about the gunk shots here. Gunk shots for berries. They stand no chance against gunk shot, even though it's like 80% accuracy. Only real complaint I have about the Cinderace, it has a tendency to miss its moves, which isn't great. Now, the Whimsicott, I did change it up a lot from the usual Whimsicott I usually run. Now, I ran max HP because you don't really need the speed, that much investment in speed, because you already have the Prankster boost from Tailwind, is barring your opponent does not have a Whimsicott of their own, you're pretty much going to get speed control the entire game. Whereas you have fast Whimsicott, you're probably not going to tank a lot of his, especially with things like Sandstorm, G-Max Wildfire, you know, the usual suspects. I added Taunt as a form of like disruption against things that couldn't be magic bounced and dark types. You know, stopped them from setting up. I had Charm as a way to disrupt physical attackers, which honestly was just a terrible idea. And Stab Moonblast. Standard, and I kept it at modest, just so I could get the most damage out of most damage I could get from the ones I got. But the Primarina over here, I spent the most time making this Primarina spread more than any other spread because I wanted this Primarina to accomplish a really defensive game where it could tank hits, retaliate back hard, and pretty much be a massive nuisance to my opponent. Max HP, 192 defense, which makes, I think, Excadrill Ironhead a 3-shot? I don't remember what it was 3-shots or 2-shot. It's 3-shot or 2-shot by, I don't remember. 20 special attack just so I could continue getting my damage output, and 44 special defense, which, with the Assault Vest, lives a Solar Power, Life Orb, Timid, Charizard, Max Overgrowth from Solar. Yeah, I find that ridiculous. Energy Ball is there as a stab, you know, Combat Gastrodon, so I don't get completely walled. Hydro Cannon's only there because Hyper Voice becomes Max Strike with Liquid Voice, unfortunately. I need a Water Step when I'm Dynamax in Marina. And then Moonblast is just the best fairy step in the game. Excadrill, the weakness policies I had Earthquake on it because I thought I could get away with it because Follow Me was just so rampant with Rotom at the time. This is around like Season 4, where I think most hidden abilities were getting released. Ironhead's good stab, Rock Slide, you know. I think it's pretty much a standard Excadrill set apart from the spread, which I invested in some bulk. just so I could get a chance to proc the weakness policy, but I would end up changing the item because I think there was a problem here, which I thought was Earthquake. Just ignore this Braviary. I really regret using this. This is Braviary to me. I thought would be good in hindsight, but it really wasn't. Because it's good against Dragapult, but it's bad against mostly everything else. We'll just ignore it. Now, Conkeldurr here, I had this thing as another trick romancer, a way to combat against Rhyperior. Life Orb Iron Fist, it just does so much damage with Mach Punches, Drain Punches, and Ice Punches. Drain Punch will recover your health, Mach Punch can get priority over some stuff like Tyranitar, and then Ice Punch for Dragapult, most dragons, most flying types, and grass types, especially relevant right now in the format. I think the spread's standard unless you guys have like a more optimized spread with the Life Orb Iron Fist. I just like this set personally, and I have Detect there just so I could avoid Imprisoned Wars or that, and I also have nothing else to add other than like maybe Special Test could be a bit better. Overall, the team did especially well for what I did, but I felt like something was lacking, and when I said I ignored Braviary, I meant it. I did. So here is the current team I'm using. It's utilizing the new Gigantamax Cinderace with the Choice Band. I mean, you're not going to Dynamax this thing often, but you could Dynamax just to flex, or if it happens to you like your best case scenario, you Dynamax the Cinderace, and that might as well be your answer, because I did recently play in a tournament. I'll talk about that later, and I ended up having to max the Cinderace just because my opponents are like in a really bad position, especially with Cinderace in play, because they only had a light screen up. And I thought if I Dynamax Cinderace right here, right now, I might have a chance to just outrun my opponent. Moveset for the most part stayed the same. Whimsicott, I changed his item, and I changed a move on it, which Cobble Berry, it's there for longevity against max Airstreams for the most part. It lives at least a bare minimum of 1 barring a crit. And the second change I made on it was Misty Terrain or Proton, because one, Expanding Force is everywhere, and if you change the terrain, Expanding Force weakens and becomes a single target move. You also protect yourself from statuses, so it's basically a better safeguard. And it weakens dragon moves by 50% of their power, which is somewhat relevant, but not as relevant as most people would think. So this is terrain is there for Expanding Force usually, but if your opponent is like using a Moongus or any form of status, you can just Misty Terrain in front of them and they can't even get the status on you because all your Pokemon are ground. Everything else just pretty much remains the same for the most part. No changes for Green Arena, but I will add this thing absolutely destroys rain teams, because they don't have any way to answer Green Arena with things such as the Rillaboom. This thing just walls a Kingdra. If you saw my recent Showdown stream, it did no damage. Kingdra did no damage to this Green Arena, like nothing at all. Excadrill here, I changed 2 things. I changed the item to Focus Sash just so I could get consistency. So I might cut the bulk on it. I haven't made the effort to cut the bulk yet, just because I think I'm really liking the bulk. But also I changed one of his moves into High Horsepower just so I could consistent ground move. Even though it's Follow Me redirectable, I'd rather get the consistency that I could potentially not hurt my own teammates by using Earthquake. So that's really the only change I made with it. Conkeldurr for the most part remained the same. And Dragapult is a new addition, where the weakness policy is just standard under Dragapult. I have no way to proc it myself, unfortunately, without taking massive damage. So this thing is just relying on my opponent activating it, which is why I have an Adamant Nature with a 180 Speedy Beast, so I can outrun Timid Whimsicott before. Barring they don't go for a Prankster move, where I could just go ahead and use. This move is mostly standard other than Acrobatics. Acrobatics is really useful for 1, max airspeed, 2, or when the weakness policy procs. I think it's because of 110 base power. Yeah, because of 110. And then you add that with a weakness policy boost, then you got a really strong flying move. And then Phantom Force 1 is a good way to stall all Dynamax, 2 is a great ghost move, and Dragon Darts, just a great move on Dragon Ball. So overall, the team is doing exceptionally well, especially in the new format. Like, this team makes no effort or Isle of Water DLC Pokemon, other than like maybe Dynamaxing Cinderace, which I don't have at the current moment, which is why I don't have a team code, but I will post a team code eventually when I get the Cinderace Gigantamax. Overall, I think I'm really happy with this team, and to post my results, I did get first place in my local tournament of VGC with Pokemon Labs. Shout out to you for running great tournaments, good boy. You're doing really good. I got first place, I went 3-0, and I only lost one game just because I got like horrible answer device. Well, I was assuming it was a speed type for Gengar. But I don't know yet. I don't know if I got Tailwind up or not. It was a situation where my Cinderace got one shot by a Shadow. I think it was a Shadow Ball. But then also, Victory Road ended up publishing my team in the rental teams, and I plan to make a team code eventually. You know, that's why the team code's missing. I plan to make it eventually. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna get the team code out there. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I could say. I did win a tournament with this team. It's super good, great offensively, and somewhat decently defensively between Marina and Conkeldurr. And with all the support I've been getting from organizations such as Blegh, BE, and from you guys especially, because we just reached 50 subscribers, which makes me really happy that I'm doing this. You know, I wasn't expecting to make it pretty big into the scene, but you can imagine just how emotional I am after getting to the 50 mark. And unfortunately, I've not been able to test my widget for a subscriber. I don't want to reveal it just yet, just because I'm not sure if it works. Because it's been a thing where I'm not sure if anyone's been subscribing at all when I have Streamlabs OBS up, so I don't know if anyone wants to try doing that somewhat time in the stream, which I don't think I might stream today at the time of recording, which is right now is June 29th. I might not stream today. There's probably a good chance I won't. But anyway, this is enough talking. If you enjoyed this video, you go ahead and subscribe. Follow my media links in the description below, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And please enjoy yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.